look like an actual photo of an F-18 cockpit. Like it was
Wow.
crazy how good it looks.
Yeah. All right, starting the stream on YouTube. Let me know when you guys pop that up.
What's your name on YouTube?
I am under Sendero. I'll send you the link.
You can just tell me
Sendero
the name
still?
of it. You're streaming it anyway.
Sendero. It's under Sendero.
Okay. Oh man, there's where you guys interview.
Yeah, last night we were playing a game called Squad, Paul. And we were
That's what's going on.
we played
Okay.
for a good 2 hours last night. It was fun.
I was up till 4 in the morning. I didn't land here until I didn't get in the hotel till 2.
Where are you at?
I'm in Tampa. I'm all messed up mentally.
Oh gosh. Yeah, I bet. Jeez. Sorry if did I wake you up with the stream showing up, or you just couldn't sleep?
For some reason I woke up and they had free food upstairs, so I went and grabbed it real quick. So I woke myself up at 9:30 or something.
Yeah, I know how that goes. Yep.
I'm still not seeing you streaming here. Are you?
Oh, I'm seeing them.
Just go to the page again, because it might not send you the notification the second time that I start streaming, if that makes sense.
Oh, there it is, live. Yeah.
We are live.
Fuck it, we'll do it live.
Showing me a fucking ad.
Oh, really? Oh, I need to turn that off.
Skip. There we go. All right. I see F-15 cold start. DCS demo. That's not it.
That's
Here it is live.
Yeah.
I see one that says DCS demo for Paul.
All right, I'm in.
Cool.
There you are.
Yeah, this is it. Swedish glory.
Dude, I love this airplane.
Yeah, it's pretty cool. So the things that are for me that are cool about it is that it's got the thrust reversers, has auto throttle, which is so cool in a fighter jet. But yeah, I want to take it up. I haven't spun it yet. I don't know. I just like to take all these modules up and go spin them and just see how they react. No idea how this thing's gonna do it in the spin, but we will check it out.
We'll eventually get it stopped.
All right. So I did a mod that that made everything English.
Oh, did you?
Yeah, if you see, it says main power right there, LP fuel, ignition system.
Oh, that's weak.
I know.
I learned a bunch of Swedish for this.
You ate a bunch of Swedish fish for this, yeah.
Yeah, exactly.
Hey, can you guys hear me?
Yep.
Yep.
Perfect. Okay, I'm set.
Okay, cool.
Here we go.
I'm
There
just
is
going
a delay in the video, though, I think.
There's definitely a delay, yeah, and it's not as quick as it was last time for some reason. But I don't get it. I'm here at the Cambria in Denver, and I have really good speeds here. Yeah, we're in Nevada. Well, yeah, physically I'm in Nevada. Yeah. Check out the pair of F-15s taxiing by.
I'll have to take your word for it.
You'll see it in a sec.
No, I know. You're zooming way out. I was like, I see two lights that could be anything. You're gonna put your landing light on and blind the shit out of them for no good reason.
Yeah, it's like Southwest. That's a
Thanks for the lights, fellas.
Yep, we were doing that coming over to the over the North Bridge in Orlando the other day, and Southwest just shines turns the light on as they're facing us, and like, okay, like it's like they did it on purpose just to be jerks. All right. So yeah, data cartridge, right? There we go. So there's a data cartridge right here, Paul. You'll see here on behind my left elbow.
Yeah, I'm showing a delay still.
Yeah, you'll see it.
30 seconds behind you, almost 20 seconds. It looks like.
My goodness.
I don't know how to get it to sync up.
It won't. It's just
the canopy.
Yeah, it's just him transmitting. Like there's just gonna be a lag.
Okay.
Yeah, so we'll just have to kind of deal with that. It's kind of like last time, so. But then, what's that?
Sounds like I'm the problem.
No,
it's you're not.
It's just
delayed
streaming
for me too.
Yeah. Yeah.
You just armed your ejection seat.
Yeah, so it's like 10 seconds behind probably for you. Yeah, so the ejection handle, I guess, is right above your head. Do you pull that in
No,
this
you
thing?
pull the
That's just
like.
to arm it.
I just hit Control E like in a panic.
Well, yeah.
That's how I do it. I don't actually touch the handle.
Depends on which seat they got. So
Yeah, I don't like that he armed his seat prior to pulling out onto the runway.
Sorry, guys. Jeez.
well, yeah, as soon as the canopy closes, right?
Is it as soon as the canopy closes, or when you're taking the runway? I guess it
For
probably.
us, we did it when we took the runway
Yeah. Okay.
because
That's
we
the Air
figured.
Force. You never know when they're gonna.
Yeah.
They might drop the seat.
Well, no, I flew with there's another Air Force guy, Paul. Can't remember his last name, but he taught in the T-37, I believe, and he was telling me that what's the one that's not tandem, that the seats are in line. The trainer.
You mean side by side?
The T6.
No, there's the T-37 that's tandem, right? And then
No, the T-37 side by side.
side by side, yeah. Okay, so then there's the tandem one, and he said that the instructor like accidentally pulled the handle as they were holding short of the runway, and like the student looks back and he's gone. And yeah, he knew that guy. So
Well, they had that happen with a T6, and it was because the instructor did it because he was so overweight.
oh wow,
And what happened was the guy was so big that when he was pulling the flag out of the ejection seat, each time he couldn't see it. And so what had happened was it actually wrapped around the handle. And as he pulled the flag, it was wrapped around and pulled the handle enough that he went out.
oh wow.
And they were holding short of the runway at the Hammerhead, and there was a T-38 about to touch down, and he ends up busting out of the airplane right in front of those guys.
Jeez.
And so, he didn't drift over onto the center line or anything, but like they went right by him. And then they made this guy, like, as part of his punishment, they had a picture of, like, he was way over the weight for the seat. Like it was a big deal.
Uh-huh.
But yeah.
So he got a good video though.
Yeah. So it's a cool video. Tapes are on.
He's telling me about another. They had a student go off the end of the runway and he ejected. And I was like, okay, it didn't seem like a bad idea to me, but I guess it's something that you weren't supposed to do. And he kept flying. He ended up flying jets after that. So.
All right, I got you taxiing. Looks like.
Yep.
So say when he's holding short there, Paul, because I want to see how long your lag is.
There's a C-17 taking off.
I'm behind Rob.
Probably. If you're at Tampa, the internet there isn't great, so it's okay. I mean.
So Mike, call when you're holding short of the runway.
Okay.
And then I'm gonna kind of count the delay, and then Paul can say when he sees you holding short, we'll know kind of where.
I'll be -3 today.
All right, I'm stopped holding short of the runway.
It's exactly 10 seconds for me.
12 for me.
12. Okay. It's not too bad. I mean, it's not great, but
that's not terrible considering what you're pushing, and you're pushing it in a pretty high res. That's not bad.
Yeah, it's
I'll just
1080p.
try to delay my response because I'm the farthest behind.
No problem. I mean, it doesn't matter. We're just doing this for fun to show you guys how it works, and
would you say it's a half quick issue?
Alrighty.
Oh man.
You need some interior lights, don't you?
Yeah, let me find those real quick.
They
so you guys can see.
Right side by your thigh.
The floodlights are over here on the left side, like under my left elbow, I believe. Or are they over here?
Oh no, your shit's in English. I keep forgetting that.
That's cool.
Radar brightness. I can't get these floodlights to go for some reason.
How about your nav lights?
So those are on outside, yeah. They've got the red siren, the rotating beacon or whatever.
Look further up to your right there, Mike. Not on the like on that elevated portion of the panel under the canopy front.
Yeah, there's a master volume. I'm pretty sure this is it. This is the floodlight panel
I
lights.
saw it was on for a second.
Here we go. Yeah, it came on and then it turned off. There we go. Okay, cool. That's lighting up my, those are my instrument lights. Floodlights. There we go. That's a little better.
On my screen, it's still all dark, but I'm delayed. So.
Yeah. All right, you'll see it here coming up. I got the lights working, so.
Looking good on my end.
Cool.
Yeah, the lighting in this is really good too.
Yeah.
Like this in the MiG-21. I gotta re-register my MiG-21, dude. Every time they do an update, I have to re-register. I'm gonna run out of activations.
No, they add them to your account. I put a link in here if you just scroll up on how to get it working again. It's a forum post. Alrighty, taking the runway. And then we've got a little panel here that'll show your afterburner stages. So I'll zoom in here real quick. There's 1, 2, and 3. And here we go. And let me know if you can hear that afterburner or not. Because the sounds in this module are really cool. Alright. I'll come out of burner.
It's funny, I find myself wanting to hit F2 to look around
Sure.
while I'm watching your airplane. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's
Oh
just
yeah.
like force of habit.
Yep.
I'm like,
Oh yeah. I do that when I'm watching YouTube, like watching other guys flying on YouTube.
You can't make it happen.
No, I can't undo. Have you noticed that the nose really digs in when you're transonic?
Yeah, there's a lot of all those pitch changes.
Man, it's insane. The first time I was like, something's wrong. And then Chris is like, is the red light on? I was like, yeah. He's like, yeah, it's normal.
Just because you're transonic.
Yeah, it's just wobbly as hell.
Yeah, so they have this little. So I get these things are designed to fly low and fast. I'm sure you guys know this, but I guess the engine has like a little door that opens up when you're going full afterburner to allow more bypass air to come through, and it just gives that. It allows it to be more efficient at low altitudes, which I thought was pretty cool. I can't remember the name of the door, but it had some little fancy name, but. What they're making it sound like was actually more efficient at lower altitudes than it is up high.
That's how the Tornado is. When we used to escort those guys, man, they like if they stayed low, they were fine. If they came up into a high profile with us, they like their gas mileage was awful.
What I'm gonna do is go catch the C-17 up here. Just go afterburner, kind of test out some of the.
Turn your radar on, dude, because that radar is cool.
Yeah, how do you do that?
I'll show you. Like it's on your left side, just forward of the other little stick. You're gonna have to look over to the left so I can see it, but it's gonna take 15 seconds for me to be able to see it.
So I'm a little behind. I saw you go to map.
Yeah, I just went to the map to see where the C-17 was real quick. Cheating.
Okay, I thought that was.
Yeah. You see where I'm at, Rob?
Yeah. So just forward to that little black stick, there's a switch there that I think you flip.
That's just to turn on the air-to-air.
No, it's I think
Oh,
no.
I
See,
see it. It
you
says
can
radar
switch
on.
between land and sea. Yeah, there's 2 different modes or whatever.
But it's not. I can't. There's no click spot for it for some reason.
It's gonna be maybe on the stick. Should be able.
No, it's a
stuff
weird.
maybe
I
on
just
the stick. Click your radar.
So there's no click spot for the radar. That's weird. There's a way to do it. I just.
hit the I key because that's like a standard key in DCS for most radars.
No. There we go. Is that it? Well, I'm on approach mode though. APPR. So I changed the master mode selector to APPR and something's showing up on there.
There you go. So you have an air mode and then a ground mode, right? So you have a land and a sea mode. There's no air-to-air radar.
Yeah, you use the ground radar to do air to air, right? To lock on air to air. Is that right?
No, it doesn't have any. I'm trying to remember, man. I don't even think it has.
That is a low altitude fighter. This is a NATO type fighter.
Yeah. It's strictly designed for like defending their coastline against ships, essentially. There is an air-to-air variant, but this is not it.
Oh wow.
It's got this crazy ass missile. It's almost like a Maverick without a seeker in it. And what you do is you fire it, and then it has a flare in the back end of it so that you can see its position, and then you guide it using the that little stick. And it's almost impossible to judge properly because you can't tell if it's past the target or not. It's a pretty primitive system. It was built in the 60s. There's tons of nav drift, like you have to constantly update the INS.
See, look at so there's the red light. I mean, now my nose is just pitching down like crazy. Yep. There we go. Yeah, so it's kind of telling you, Paul, like a lot of these DCS modules that they come out with, they're not like brand new airplanes. They're the airplanes that they can get the licensing for and get all the documentation and do all the research with, like, because that's how deep the systems go. So like they won't go and try to do like an F-22 just because they're not going to be able to do it justice.
Well, in a lot of ways, it's pretty cool because you're really Mirage. I flew for a while in the sim, and I just loved it. It just had air to ground only, but it really makes the air to air a lot simpler because now you're into sidewinder gun type.
Yeah.
Which is so then you're just going tone lock
and like there's a killer F5 in this that they have a couple of different, and it's the same thing. You know, it's such a primitive system. Like it's sweet though. It's very pure.
So that was the one Brendan and I did a demo for him with the F5s, which was cool.
And they have a couple of different little campaigns, like where you're an aggressor guy out in Vegas, and they've got like they have a DACT one, and then they have a BFM campaign. Like it's kind of cool.
It makes you a better air to ground fighter, but yeah, it just leaves you a little vulnerable coming off target, in and out. So you're gonna join up and take some fuel?
No, this is just I guess it's a C-17 or.
Oh, okay.
I'm just gonna fly by it just for fun. Pretty stable plane. I mean, it's relatively stable except when you're doing speed changes, like the pitch oscillations, or they can get kind of wonky here, like Rob was saying.
Super easy to trim it out though. Like now, like you should be able to fly it pretty much hands off. Like it's.
Yeah, and I guess the autopilot isn't just like, oh, here, altitude hold or whatever, but it actually, it's kind of like a stability system for Just normal flying too for hand flying? Does that sound about right?
Yeah, and then you know that if you have it in autopilot and then you hit the trim switch left or right, you know it'll roll into a standard rate turn left or right.
Oh, I
Did
didn't
you
know
know?
that. Let me do that real quick. I'll do that while as I pull away from this guy. So if I just trim it to the right. Oh,
Yeah,
wow. Look at that.
and
Dude,
then
that's
it'll
freaking
bank
sweet.
around, and so it basically will put you in a standard rate turn so that you can calculate
That's
stuff
rad.
or change stuff. Yeah. And you can use that thing down at like 100 feet. It doesn't matter because it doesn't dump the altitude. Like it takes all that into account. Like it works pretty well. And then you just hit it back to the left and it'll level back out. You hit left again and it'll go into a
Oh,
one-way.
cool. I didn't know that. That's awesome. Yeah, the afterburner sounds, and I don't think they're coming across like I'd like them to. I don't have the levels set on OBS that well, but it sounds awesome. The afterburners in here. I was just flying the F-15 earlier, Paul, and like, what's the sound in it, Rob? It's just like poof, and
Yeah,
you
it
can
sounds
hear it.
almost like a non-augmented burner, even
Yeah.
though, but it's weird. It goes dum, 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 dum,
Yeah.
every time you change throttle.
And that's a cockpit sound?
Yeah, they just have it kind of exaggerated. So you can see around his radar there, Paul. Those are raw hits that he's getting around the compass scale, the compass rose there around his radar. That's like,
Oh yeah.
so those are raw hits that he's getting.
Okay.
You guys in the Hornet, you guys had your raw with HUD, right, on the outside of the HUD.
Yeah, and then we'd have this straight analog. I guess you'd call it analog round dial.
Yeah. Yeah, I just think I don't know why more aircraft didn't institute that, because I had a couple of rides in the Hornet and I was just blown away by the fact that I was like, dude, why did they not institute this in other airplanes? Why don't other airplanes have their raw repeated?
Yeah, it's a fun little. It's just fun to fly. I'm gonna see how it does.
You just scared that C-17 guy.
So is that a real crew flying that airplane, or is that just a
No, that's just AI. Yeah,
AI?
in the server or just in the. I'm just playing single player right now. I'm not on a server. So you can, I mean, you can in the editor you can program this thing to do whatever you want. You know, to simulate a war. It can get pretty complicated, and I'm not very good with the editor, um, but yeah, you can pretty much do whatever you want. And that's what Rob was saying. You can buy these campaigns that people have made for like $10. You know, that they kind of simulate whatever
Like they
they
have an
want.
F-15 one, they have an A-10 one that are both red flag campaigns. So they go from day one, from you doing, the famine, just flying through the airspace, through, day 10 when the enemy has long burn chucks and all that stuff.
Unbelievable.
Wow, man, it gets really mushy on the roll.
Look at
When
your
you're
speed,
stalling.
dude.
Yeah, when you're stalling. I'm just saying, when you're
Should be like
stalling
at, should be like at 400 kilometers an hour.
No,
Like
no, no.
that's the thing.
I was doing that on purpose. I was just wanting to see how it felt at low speed. I stalled it on purpose, sir.
Yeah. No, I meant to. That's a you. That happened to Brett when he was instructing in the T6. There was they were out doing a loop, and there was a AWACS, and he was an ex-AWACS guy, so he's watching the guy do a touch and go at Golden Triangle as they're doing the loop. He just notices the guy, and he's like, "Oh, cool." And then the student goes, "Sir, I can't get fast." And he looks down, the fucking gear handle's lit, and they're in the bottom of the loop, and he's like, "Oh shit," So they declare and go back and land, and he got to explain that one away.
Oh, the C-17 went way low down there. Wonder what he's doing.
You scared him.
Yeah, bugging out, going home. Let's see here. All right, let's see how it does in full stall.
Can you just go? You don't have any weapons on you, do you?
No, I don't know the weapon systems on this plane yet, so.
Yeah, there's one missile that it has that's and you could always do one of the training missions and show them that.
Yeah.
There's some good training missions. There's one type of missile that's really sweet. You flip a couple of switches, and then you just pick up 3 or 4 targets, and it has target discrimination in it, so you could just fire, and it won't hit friendly ships, but it will hit enemy ships in the area. Like, it's kind of crazy.
Yeah, that spin is really.
You got the Vigan also, Rob?
Yeah. I
Oh,
have it.
this isn't gonna go well.
Are you
I'm
digging?
coming in later.
I'm actually headed to the tower here in a couple of hours. Like, that's why I didn't pull everything out and set it up, or I would
What time do you get home?
have. I'll be on about 9:30 tonight.
What's the wife say?
Oh, she didn't care. Like, dude, about 9:30, she's almost ready to go to bed. So she's up like early with us each day. So, and I don't work till noon tomorrow, so that's good. I can
And
probably
Mike,
jump
what's
on.
your schedule today?
I got a 2 p.m. van, Mountain Time.
Where are you
And
going?
what time do you get into wherever you're going?
I get done at like midnight in Phoenix.
Well, that's blows. That's 2 or 3 in the morning for me.
Yeah, it's late.
Yeah.
Yeah, I do a San Antonio turn and then Phoenix. So, but yeah, I mean I still don't know much about this plane, but it's really cool. Like the level of detail that they go to. You know, if you really want to learn the airplane, like you've got to sit down and read the manual. You got to sit down and put all the time into learning it. So, and that's why I
It
like.
is it's a very simple system though. It's not like you've got some crazy, it's capable in its time frame, but it's not. I mean, it's all kind of point and shoot.
Yeah,
Yeah.
That explains why they're happy lower too if they don't have air-to-air radar. It just
No, and I mean, you can bump that thing down. Like, I think, and I might be wrong, Mike, but I think that if you trim the nose down while you're in autopilot, it gives you like it puts the nose down just a little bit, and then you pull back on it, and you trim up, and then it'll level out at whatever. Like, so you can change the altitude a little bit in the
Oh, okay, yeah. Let's go try it
system
out.
too.
I'm just starting back up again, and
So what'd you do? You throw in a weapon or two?
I didn't, but I can. Let's see
Yeah,
here.
throw something on there.
Yeah.
I just don't know how to use it. That's all.
That's all right. Trouble between Rob and you and
See, I got some rockets. Usually those are a little easier to employ.
Oh, they actually suck in this when you try
Oh, they
to
do?
use this. Yeah, they're just hard to hit with, man, because you got to dial in them and everything. And if you have it wrong, it's like the what other plane was that we were doing that? The F5. It's like trying to bomb out the F5.
Request rearming. Copy.
I would do an A10 mission.
What's that?
I saw you doing an A10 mission with a guy who didn't speak English very good.
I can't hear you. You're a little quiet.
He said he saw you doing an A10 mission with a guy who didn't speak English very well.
Oh yeah. That was with the SkyWest guy. He was a SkyWest pilot. Yep.
Your lead is really good, by the way. You're really kicking ass.
Oh, I don't know about that, but.
Oh yeah, it's amazing.
Rearming complete.
So, Paul, I bought a virtual reality headset. So I have an Oculus Rift, and this works in the Rift. And it makes flying formation a million times easier because you have depth perception. So
Mike and I were talking about that, and I'm trying to think of what would be the best mode for me on the road. The Rift, I think, is the way to go. I can't do the room Rift thing.
The Vive.
Right.
Yeah.
The other program.
the Vive.
Yeah. I'm trying to think of what would travel best. The Rift, it's all internal, just the headset itself. Right?
Yeah. Well, you have a sensor, but it's not very big. It's and it all fits in they give you like a nice box for it. So as long as you could put the box in like a bag or something, you'd be fine. And with you guys, like, it's not a worry about you having to check it or anything where you're going to make room for it. But yeah, I think it would work, and it's dependent on your rig, if your rig will run it. And there's a thing you can go to the Oculus Rift site and run a thing, and it'll tell you if your machine will run it or because you can dial the graphics way back and it doesn't matter. Like, so you'll be getting 100 frames a second. It'll be buttery smooth. Like, but it's because you have depth perception. It's just different, And they've actually tweaked this game quite a bit because initially it was designed to be displayed on a monitor. So the problem that you would run into is that the aircraft in the Rift would be tiny. And so what they did is they turned on this smart scaling for virtual reality to where it makes the aircraft the size it should be at the distances and angles it's at. And so like you can't tell that an F5 is an F5 10 miles out, but at about the 4 mile point you can, you know.
Right.
Oh, you gonna cut those dudes off?
Yeah, you saw that.
Nice.
I was like, whoa, I didn't see it coming.
Yeah.
So teach me a little bit about DCS now. So you're taxiing out, and you're not calling for clearance or anything like that. So right now we're uncontrolled.
Yeah, so when you've seen the videos that we were doing before, we were actually logged in with a third party, application that ties you into a server where you're talking to real air traffic, to air traffic controllers, like to live ATC for flight simulators.
Right.
We in most of the time when we fly, we're not using that. That's kind of like a cool new thing that we've been testing out for DCS. But yeah, most of the time in DCS, like unless you're on a server that's trying to run realistic comms or anything like that, they have something called Simple Radio, and that's another third-party application that you can link up to your sim, and you can get in there, and it has all the individual frequencies and everything that you want, and you can talk to other guys if you're on the same server, and you've coordinated that you're going to talk with them. But I'm just on a single-player server. They do have artificial intelligence air traffic control, but it's not very good for DCS.
Yeah, I was just trying to see. Yeah, so we're just on a single pilot server right now.
Yeah, just on my computer. I'm not even broadcasting the game or anything like that. So yeah. Did you ever play Falcon 4.0, Paul?
No, I did James F-18 many years ago. For a while on the road, I would do that Mirage. I think it was Israeli Air Force, IAL or whatever it is.
IL2. What?
IL, no. I forget what it was. I love that game. It's a lot like this Vigan, where it's just air to ground.
Yeah.
You're flying a fast, hot jet, great air to ground, simple air to ground, and then, but no air to air. Into a real furball sometimes. Anyway.
Oh, weird. Okay, so the attitude, and the hold on the autopilot are blinking. Here we go.
And I forget which range is this. Are you out in Vegas? Where are you at?
Yeah, this is. I was flying out of Nellis.
So Rob's really hot on Nellis. Rob, I was mainly Japan. Fallon be the only thing on the West Coast that only range I worked. Did we lose Rob?
Maybe. Yeah. I think he's.
I muted because I was drinking water and forgot to unmute. Answering you.
We're like, where are
you? Were you at Iwakuni?
No, I was at Sugi, and but most of the time in the Philippines, that kind of stuff. I was on the Midway, but we were.
Nice.
Let's see, what came after the Midway? It was the Kitty Hawk, I think, came. Anyway, replaced us. I'm trying to think of what ships you would be familiar with. Did you
I went out
that way a little bit?
I went out to the George Washington a couple of times. I went to. Go to the Enterprise once. I'd have to look through my orders, man. I can't remember. Each time I went out, they're like, all right, man, you're going out for like 10 days, and like 3 days in, I'd be like, this was cool. I'm ready to go back home. But no, it was an awesome thing, like just to be there and see everything that goes on. But I was lost half the time on the ship. I'm pretty sure guys were steering me around.
Did your AWACS type stuff, all that? Where were you?
I was in Oklahoma City. Then I was at Kadena.
Oh yeah, there you go.
I was at Kadena for 4 years, so I did Cope North, Cope Thunder, like what was the other one that we did in Thailand? Tiger something. I did that. I did Pitch Black a couple of times in Australia. Like yeah. So we flew all over the place for exercises. Our primary mission obviously was Korea there, so we were pretty busy with that.
How about that stuff, guys?
Yeah.
We're freaking on the edge of war, guys. It only takes one mistake.
Yeah.
Yeah, from an unstable leader. And I don't know which one I mean. I just mean an
Well, I think
unstable
we're
leader.
playing this one right. I think we're on the. I don't know. It's interesting. This will be. It's interesting.
So you have a master weapons mode that's on that second part of the panel there, Mike. There's like on your right, by your right arm, there's 3 separate like tiers to the panel. The second tier forward is where your weapon
Oh,
stuff
I see
is,
that.
like
Yeah.
your
Okay.
rockets and stuff.
Do you have any idea how to do it?
With the rockets, it's pretty straightforward, man. You just flip it, and I think you have to flip both of those. So
Air gun attack, IRB, ground vision, air radar, gun pod.
I think you just go to attack.
Okay.
Yeah, so just go to attack, and then I don't think there's much more to it, but I can't remember, dude.
Let me double check. Let me see if I got those things mapped here. No, I do not. So weapons.
It should just be your standard trigger, though. You only have one trigger on it.
So. Oh, okay, gotcha. No, it's not that one.
I think what I did is for Oh, you do have to flip the switch up on the stick. The master arm is on the stick.
There we go. Woo!
So it's like a flick switch.
Yeah. But you can flip it. That wasn't the way initially. Well, just let all those go.
All right, let's see.
Somebody just lost their phone call. They're like, "Hello, hello."
That's gun pod. That's pretty easy. Okay, cool.
Yeah, it's super simple, man. It's like, and if when you're done with this little run, you want to jump in to do the training mission on one of the missile systems, I'll be able to tell you which one it is. I think the RB-75 or whatever. It walks you through exactly how to do it, and you fire it, and this missile just goes out and like skims the water like 10 feet off the water, and the missiles will shackle back and forth on their way to the target and stuff.
Okay.
Yeah, I need to get. Matter of fact, I was just looking yesterday, Falcon 4 stuff, because there's some new stuff for the Warthog where guys have like set up full deals, and they're like, "Oh, just load this file, and then your stick and throttle are set."
Oh, cool.
But I still have my F-16 stick and throttle. There's an adapter I can get because the throttle plugs into the stick, and the stick, because I haven't used it in like 10 years, it was in a box, and it like almost like rusted, like
Oh, wow.
solid, and so it's not rusted, but like it's obviously there's no lubricant on the inside of it, so I'd have to take it apart. I don't know that I want to mess with all that because it's the same stick basically as the Warthog has. So all I would do is run an adapter, not use my Warthog, just use that throttle with the adapter. I think the adapter's like $90 or something. But,
Cool.
But it would be a bummer if I do that and then the throttle doesn't work. So I probably should do some troubleshooting before and make sure that it at least works.
All right, I turned on the auto throttle back here, and I put it in the visual approach mode. So it should give me, I think it's a 3-degree glide slope.
Yeah, dude, that thing's ridiculous.
I'm still going way too fast, though.
Yeah, you're going to have to use some G to bleed some speed. Well, and you have to select the airport. Like, you have to put the airport steer point in and all that.
Oh,
like,
wow.
Yeah, it's It's not as simple as just because you're at McCarran, right? You're not
Yeah.
at Nellis.
Yeah, we're landing 25 right.
And you're probably still 0.
Yeah, I think we're still 9004000.
Just the way I like to come into McCarran.
Yeah, I know, right? Hot and high and fast. Shoot.
We're coming in anyway. Here we come.
Yep.
Dude, I should hear from Atlanta like the first week in June, and we're about to renew our lease here, so I know what's going to happen, dude. I'm going to renew the lease, and I'm going to owe my landlord $3,000 for moving. And
Oh,
a
gosh.
month after I renew the lease, they're going to go, "Hey man, you got to be in Atlanta in 6 weeks." Be like,
Can't you go
perfect.
month to month for a short bit?
And no, my HOA won't let us do that. Like my HOA is like Gestapo, like it's crazy. Like they just told the guy, our neighbor across the street, like his dog was barking and stuff, and they told him he can't renew. They're like, yeah,
What?
people have been complaining about you parking your car on the street overnight and you can't renew. So that's it.
Wow.
So I mean, it's cool because I'm away. Like I don't have to worry about my wife and kids and stuff because it's a really quiet, safe neighborhood. Matter of fact, the other day we went out to get my grill starter. I have a big green egg. We went out to get that out of the garage at like 4 in the afternoon. And the next day, Adrian goes out. She's like, "You realize we left the garage open?" And like nothing happened. Nobody even came into it, like, so I'm obviously in a pretty decent neighborhood.
Yeah, just check out McCarran, that view of McCarran, just the lighting and everything looks awesome.
Oh,
Hopefully it comes through on the stream, but on my screen it looks awesome.
it is on my end. Every once in a while, too, you'll get like this tint on the windshield.
Oh yeah.
And it's like the sun glaring.
And the thing is, there's no stream or screenshot, and there's no video that's put out that's going to make it feel like it feels in the sim. Like,
Yeah.
there's so many times in the simulator where a bunch of us are goofing around flying, and I'm just like, I had this big stupid grin on my face.
Yeah, and that's all of us guys who play, like our little group of friends, like we don't get too serious about it. We just have a lot of fun with it, and we just sit there and talk about how cool it looks.
You still have a whole bunch of bombs under the wings.
We just like flying it around and enjoying it.
You got to release a few of those on the strip there.
Yeah. And I just thrashed my gear. So, yeah, I thrashed my gear, but hopefully it'll still go backwards here with the thrust reverser.
The funniest video, dude, even more so than Chris and I with the bird strike thing, is that video of you and Keith departing when he loses control of that F5 on departure.
Yeah.
Like, that's still the hardest I laugh.
That's a good video. All right. So that, yeah, so it's, there's some videos out there of the Vigan landing on roads and taking off of roads. So it's got a...
Right. It was an off-road type deal.
Yeah. So, yeah, I can do that in here. And it's got the thrust reverse, which is pretty cool. This is the thrust reverse handle. You'll see in a second. And you can arm that. And it'll back up and do a 3-point turn, like on the road, and then take back off in the other direction. Pretty amazing stuff, so... Anything else you want to see with it?
I don't know if you know with that reverser that you can arm that with the auto throttle armed.
Yeah.
And what it'll do is as soon as the nose gear touches down, it goes max braking.
So
or not max braking, the reverser
goes max reverser.
goes max power. Yeah.
So I had that set. I had the auto throttle on, and I had that armed before landing. But like once the nose gear touched down, it didn't really do anything. I had to hit the brakes. And they were saying that, like, yeah, I don't know. I'll have to figure it out.
I think calling that a landing is a stretch there, Mike.
Hey, I'm walking away from it though, right? So.
It's his Finney flight.
Better than my landings in Trenton, probably.
Are we still talking about that? No, I thought. No, wasn't that a Nashville landing?
No, that was Nashville. I was just joking with Paul because we flew into Trenton the whole trip that we flew together. But yeah, so I met Brendan. Brendan works in Nashville, And this is the first time I've ever had anyone videotape a landing that I've done in a jet. And I'm flying with Jenna Butler, and I just bring it in, no flare. I don't know like what happened. I just crushed it into the runway.
Oh,
Like,
let me guess. Were you landing north on 2?
no, we were landing north on the crossing runway, the diagonal runway, 30, I want to say.
See.
Yeah, we got that runway, which is good, but it was like perfect. It was like the perfect shot for Brendan to do a video from,
Right.
and I was like, it was like performance anxiety type deal,
Right.
So
There's a dip in the north runway. They can catch guys if you land too early.
yeah, two left or something like that, or
Yeah.
yep.
That's the funny thing too, is like guys that fly simulators and then they go fly a real airplane and they're like, dude, this runway has a huge curve in it. And you're like, yeah. Yeah, you can't see the departure end sitting at the approach end.
Yep.
Well, that's the problem with our air traffic right now is we used to be able to put you guys on the seat all the time. When I first got in the airlines, I mean, it was.
I know, and now I can do that twice a year. I can take 2 4-day trips twice a year. I mean, well, 2 trips total per year.
Commonplace though, because
It's the issue is getting us into cast and all that stuff and getting that squared away, and then we have to request the time off from work, and then.
I see a huge beneficial use out of it.
Oh
though. I mean,
man,
it's like
absolutely.
Denver, we see it all the time. We taxi around, they'll stop you, and you're on an uphill. Next thing you know, you're at like 30-40% on 2 inches just to get up through a hump in the ground.
Nice. Yeah, it's and it's funny because I was flying into Charlotte, and what I did is I went to Knoxville to check out the facility there, and so what I did is I took a flight out of, I think I went Palm Beach to Fort Worth, and then I went Fort Worth to Knoxville, and then when I came back, I went Knoxville to Charlotte to Palm Beach, and I did that so that I would fly on 4 different airframes. That was I set up my routing based on flying on different airframes, and it was really cool. We're flying into Charlotte and we're on the downwind. Or actually, we were on our way in there, and I said, where's your favorite place to fly into, and where's your least favorite place to fly into? And the one guy was like, oh man, I hate flying into Newark, and I like flying into O'Hare. And the other guy was like, yeah, I love O'Hare, and my least favorite airport is Charlotte.
They
He's
like
"It's
O'Hare. Wow.
Yeah.
Oh, that's interesting.
Well, he was just talking about from the air traffic perspective. Right?
Oh, gotcha,
Like,
gotcha. Not on the ground.
he's like, yeah, he's like the ATC guys are great there. They keep you moving the whole time. Like there's times where I'll go into O'Hare and land and not have to talk to more than one controller the whole way into the ramp type thing. But yeah, the guy goes, I hate Charlotte because he goes, look at us, man. We're on this 25-mile long downwind for no damn reason, like, and it's just procedural. Charlotte is super procedural.
Yeah.
Where are you at? Which city are you at, Rob?
I'm just north of Palm Beach, so I'm across the state from you. Yeah.
I'm sorry, I interrupted you. Which controller are you? Where are you at?
I'm a tower guy right now. I'm in Fort Pierce, Florida.
So Paul lives in Denver, actually. He's based in Denver. We just so happened to fly together on a kind of a mixed trip. Like Rob did a day of flying, and then we did one leg together at night out of Orlando. So yeah, because we'll kind of mix and match crews every once in a while, but it doesn't happen often. But
They sent Mike to keep an eye on me.
yeah, I was sent by the chief pilot to watch Paul, spy on him for.
I wondered why there was so much paper flying up there.
Taking notes.
He even borrowed my pen at one point.
Did I? I can't remember.
No, I'm joking. So you're in the F-15?
This is the F-15 now, yeah. So the difference between this module, this is one of the older modules. It does not have a clickable cockpit, so everything has to be done with keyboard commands or whatever you've mapped to your joystick and throttle, which is cool. Like I actually wanted to jump in this thing because I need to map a bunch of the commands to my new throttle. I mean, I've had this throttle for like a few months now, but I also
Right,
wanted
yeah,
to
you
learn
got
it.
that new throttle, don't you?
Yeah, yeah. So I mean, was I carrying that around when we flew together? I don't think we were. I
No,
don't think I was.
I think I was in Philly, and we were talking, and you were saying you had just bought this new stick.
Yeah, I got it as an early Christmas present, and it's fun. It's good. It's good to take on the road. I had to kind of get a special backpack to hold my laptop and my throttle. Kind of careful who I tell that I'm carrying this stuff
Right.
around.
Do you take your pocket protector out, or you just keep it
Yeah. Is it mandatory that you have a retainer in when you're
Yeah.
using it? This stick is so awesome.
It's so funny though, cause like I'll tell guys about it, and like they think it's super cool. They're like, "Oh, that's cool," but you're carrying a joystick in your bag. Oh, okay.
Yeah.
You're one of those guys, but yeah.
This is gonna look weird on the TSA X-ray.
Yeah. I had a guy in Vegas. He like I went through known crew member, and he pulled me aside. He's like, "Okay, you got randomly selected," and he like opened my bag up. He's like, "What is this?" I'm like, "It's a joystick." He's like, "Oh." He's like, "Do you play Elite Dangerous?" I'm like, I haven't. I haven't really played much with it." But he's like, "Yeah." Like, he's like, "I play Elite Dangerous. That's so cool, man." Like, yeah.
funny.
He's like, "You play games on the road and stuff like that?" I'm like, "Yeah, yeah." I like check out my computer and all this. Like, just some TSA
Rob,
dude.
This is where Rob, you gotta do the retainer voice again.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Well, I used to do that because there's like a dude that, this is the craziest shit. I had to escort this guy over for his Article 15, and it was he was getting a check ride, and the examiner said to him, "Is there any reason today, physical, stress-related, illness in the family? Do you have any personal issue going on that would preclude me from being able to do a check ride on you today?" And the guy goes, "Well, yeah, I'm pretty upset. I haven't slept in a couple of days because my Dungeons and Dragons character got killed." And so so the dude is getting an Article 15 for, there was some other shit that was going on with him. And so me and this other guy whose call sign was Hatred got sent over to pick this kid up. And we go bang on his dormitory door, and like we're in our service dress, and he opens the door and he's covered in like fluff, and like there's shit all over his uniform, and we're like, "Let's go, the colonel's waiting for you." And the kid's like, "Okay, sorry." He goes, I was so nervous I finally fell asleep, and I overslept. And so the kid was like napping in his service dress before he goes to captain's mess, right? So we go to take him over there, and I was like, "What is all over your uniform?" And like we got as much of it as we could off of his uniform, but by the time we went in, it was still on there, and the colonel was like, "What the fuck is up with your uniform?" And the kid's like, "Well, I was pretty nervous from this whole thing, and I was stressed out, so I was petting Fluffy." And the commander's like, "You have a pet in the dorm?" And the guy's like, "Yeah, I have two cats, a chinchilla, some other shit, right?" So
Jeez.
that was it. They ended up separating him from the Air Force, like,
Oh, really?
because he was just, yeah, failure to adjust, like just too weird a fucking guy. But I was like, "But you don't understand. My level 6 paladin was killed." Like, so that became like, so like, my guy has maximum dexterity. Like, yeah, that was just, so me and that guy Jim and Brett too, my buddy Brett who flies for United, like that. We always joked about the maximum dexterity thing. So that's what, you totally cast the wrong spell.
Yep.
I did that on the radio at Frontier for a while, and I would do it to mess with the controllers. Because the
Yeah.
controller. So what do you? So you say, "Hey, this is Frontier. Level 360." So what's
He
the
sounds like
controller
Peter.
gonna do? Say, "What the fuck's wrong with your voice?"
Yeah. No, but I guarantee you went on speaker at somebody's head, over someone's head at Albuquerque Center or whatever. They're like, "Dude, listen to this guy.
Right.
This guy has headgear on."
Right. Yeah, it's like a disability. You don't ask,
Yeah.
What's wrong with you?
It's like that scene in Malcolm in the Middle where the guy comes up and he pats the chick on the stomach and he goes, "What's in there?" And she goes, "My big fat gut," because she wasn't pregnant. It's like, dope.
Oh, dude, you're cranking really some good low level here.
Yeah, this thing's just so powerful.
You know Ed Dirtford? Have you ever met him?
Who?
Ed Dirtford. He's a 15 driver
No.
at Frontier.
Cool. Now I'm flying right now with Randy Russell. Do you know who he is?
No.
He
15 guy?
he was a Marine Corps guy. He flew UH-1s and Cobras, and then he switched to the Air Force and he flew KC-135s and T-34s. What else? C-130s, stuff like that. But yeah, he's been here for what, 10, 12 years, and he's only actually flown at Frontier for about 4 of those because he's been on military leave the whole time.
Nice. Well done.
Yeah, right.
So you go, man. 33 grand back down.
You gotta zoom climb one of these fuckers sometime. Just point it north, straight up, and just see what you peek out at.
Yeah.
It'll go. He just went to 33 and still had some smash left. So you probably, I think 40. You could do it if you're booking like he was. Like,
There's the D terminal at McCarran. There we go. I'll see how fast I can get down here low, and then I'll pull up.
You had one drop tank, I think, right?
I think I took it off. Oh, I do have a drop tank, yeah.
it's Control W, I think, dumps your fuel tanks.
Wait till the
Yep. And it just crashed through the roof of some kid. Let's see here.
So when you're in the Hornet, what was the weirdest? Like everyone has a single story that, like I always ask guys. So what was your weirdest thing that happened to you where you're like, oh shit, that was close, or
Oh, for the out at the boat, there's always every day is a fucking story. But
Bingo fuel. Bingo fuel.
as far as what he's doing right here, one day I was out. We do these little missions to help support ships. Like you'd go out and you do missile profiles, and it'd all be defined exactly what speed, altitude. And then you run a simulation your missile.
oh yeah, you do the cruise missile thing.
Yeah, and so
Okay.
then they throw their simulated attack on you, fly by the mission, and then you're free and you're on your own. So I don't know. I mean, this is not great. So I go out and run my mission. Now I got loads of gas, and so I do exactly what Mike's doing here. I just put it on the deck, hit like. We usually have 2 drop tanks, so the best I could ever see is a little bit over supersonic with 2 drop tanks, and of course you got sidewinders and a Sparrow. You might even have a FLIR pod. I don't know. So anyway, zoom climbing. I get up to like I think 57,000 or something like that. Top out, get called up, come right back down, and now I'm pointed earthward, and I've got full burner in, going straight at the fucking ground water, and the best I could get was like 1.2. I look out there and the drop tanks are shaking, and just pointed straight at the crowd, and then I think I started my pull at 12 or 10,000 feet. And, anyway, no big thrill, but it's doing a lot of what Mike's doing right here. Just
No, that's awesome though. I went to 52 was as high as I ever got in the Eagle. And it was as part of a maneuver, obviously, we hit a specific range and then did our maneuver for the, to create issues as far as sort and all of that. And, but yeah, we're in a Vic. We ended up being our Champagne, and we ended up being the ass end of the Champagne, and it was like that, man. We went straight down post hold down onto the deck and just hauled ass, and it was just fun.
Yeah, the adrenaline gets going because you got everything. You're going as fast as you can go, and it's like you got to time your pull really just right.
And you know, from being out over the water like that too, it's so easy. Like if you start yanking and banking to get disoriented, like you really have to trust. There are certain days in Okinawa where it would just be really good weather, and you're like, "Damn, dude, it's hard for me to tell which way's up and which way's down." Like even with a horizon, you know. Like everybody's like, "Oh, it must be cool to fly on MVGs and stuff." I never dug it. Like it was cool for the experience. I have a buddy who's, I think he's a squadron commander in Corpus now, and when we were in high school, all he wanted to do was fly the F-18, and then he's like, I can't wait to go out to the boat and stuff. And then I talked to him a few years after he'd been in, and he'd gone to the boat a few times, and he's like, if I never go back on another fucking boat, it will be too soon.
Really?
Yeah,
Oh,
he was
I
like,
love the boat.
yeah, he just, for whatever reason, man, he's like, it was cool. I could say that I did it, but yeah, he told me a story where he missed another F-18 close enough that they basically either it broke, I think it broke one of the lights on top of the tail.
Jeez.
Like because I guess when you guys do a flight check, a function, right, when you do an FCF, like you're the first guys off the deck and the last guys to land or something. It makes sense, right? Because if you have an issue with the airplane, then you don't want to foul the deck forever. But so he was saying that he was at the sanctuary altitude. They briefed it in the morning and everything, and he said, so I gotta wait a while. He's like, so I'm sauntering, and he's like, and I'm at the point where the airplane is so slow that when he saw the other guy, the guy busted the sanctuary altitude and came at him head on. You have your board out
Yeah.
on my view.
Yeah, I saw it. Yeah, on the F2 view.
Well, because sometimes, right, it doesn't show properly in the other view, so I didn't know if it was really out or it was just
no, it was really out.
issue. Hey, there's a Nellis golf course, but so that's not the one I got in trouble over. So so this guy, he shoved he said he saw the guy and just instinctively shoved the nose over, and he said, but what happened was I was so slow that the airplane just rolled along the wings, right, or pitched along the wings, and he goes, I didn't lose any altitude, I didn't gain any altitude, I just kind of the tail came up, and he said the guy went by and he was like, what the fuck? So then they land or whatever, and they checked his aircraft. And I want to say he had a cracked light or something, and the other aircraft they had actually touched, but not, obviously enough to do any real damage. But he's like, yeah, dude, that was absolutely the scariest shit that ever happened to me.
Yeah, probably the scariest shit that ever happened to me is we'd have all these collateral duties, and so I was at LSO, which is
sure.
So I remember being out there one night, and it's in the middle of the night, and I'm still a new LSO, so I don't really know what I'm doing. I'm just out there, kind of on the job training at this point. So I'm on the platform, and we're doing a recovery, and so in comes one of our guys, and he gets a little low, and I'm standing behind the controlling LSO, so I'm an observer at this point. So they're like, low, you're low, power, wave off. And so he throws in the burner, and the whole ocean lights up. It just, because it's relatively dark. All you see is a few blinking lights at this moment. And as soon as he lights the burner, you can see everything. And so he crosses the ramp, and hook slaps the back of the ramp. If you go out to the midway, you can still see where you look at the center line, perfect. You can see a dent right there where the hook slapped, and it slapped up about maybe 12 inches from the fuselage, so it's way high on the hook.
Oof.
And anyway, next thing you know, somebody grabs me by my shirt collar from behind and drags me to the ground. And when I get up, everybody else is in the net, and I'm on the ground because they knew better. I didn't know what the fuck was, I'm still staring at the airplane. anyways, fortunately, he did catch a wire, because if he didn't, it would have been throw him into the. They'd have to rig the barricade and bring him in for the barricade. But there's a good experience for you. It was not even related to being in an airplane.
Gosh,
That's crazy.
nowhere to go. That'd be insane.
I went out on the COD when I went to the George Washington, and the guys that I was flying with, they were cool guys, and I was like, "Hey man, I go take it easy on me. It's my first carrier landing," and the pilot throws his thumb over toward the co, and he goes, "Yeah, it's his too." I'm like, "Wait a minute," But that was a really good experience. I was out there doing, interoperability coordination stuff and flying with your E2 guys was mostly what I was doing. The fact that those guys can control and protect an entire fleet with 3 controllers in the back, your NFOs, like that's insane to me, because we'll bring, in AWACS, our maximum crew is 36, and we might bring 10 weapons guys that are using 9 scopes, right? So and that's why you guys are, I always liked it because we could control you guys using data link, and you guys would let us do it, man. The Air Force guys are like, fuck no, you're not flying my airplane from there. But we would just do it for tests with you guys, and you guys would follow Dolly, or we'd hook up in Timber with you or whatever. And I just liked it when you guys were in the link, because I could see how much fuel you had. I knew what your low man was, so I could start doing coordination with air traffic to get you, back out of the mower or whatever you were working.
And the Air Force guys don't do that, huh?
No, they won't. They're like, fuck no. Like the Strike Eagle guys would never do it. I was chopped one of their squadrons for like 6 months, and I'm like, dude, like there's no, like, we're not going to do anything. It's not like I'm going to type in some fucked up altitude. It's not like you can't override it,
I would have said the other way. I would have thought the Air Force would have been very squared over.
Well, I'll tell you the big difference with because I was on the F-22 test team, and so like my whole thing with that was I was just doing data link stuff, and it was to figure out, because like I can take everything the AWACS is seeing and push it into the cockpit, but the problem is that now the guy's got so many returns that he, so much symbology, you can't tell what's what. So then that's what we were doing. We were just refining. Okay, we'll pair a little bit off. Well, what if we get rid of all of these? Okay, well now I can't see. Okay, well what if I only show him stuff within 100 miles of him? And that's, so it sometimes it was just a lesson in futility, trying to figure out, we would either pair it back too much, and then the guy's like, well, no, I'm going to need to see that, or, the F-22 has its own issues, mostly related to physiological stuff, nothing to do with the airplane itself. The airplane's fine. Right. But what's your take on the F-35?
As far as?
Just in general.
Well, I think it's out. I think it's to be seen yet. I don't know. I don't know enough about it. Who's flying it now? What countries?
Canada may not be getting theirs. Australia, I think, has them now, but they're not looking to buy any more. I think they're just getting their initial, and that's it. And then England, I know, has theirs.
I think the cost analysis, it's really going to be a beam counter issue in the end. In the end, the benefits are going to match the cost.
No, and I think what's going to happen with it, to me, I was telling my wife, I think that it's the equivalent of the F-16. I think it's going to take them 8 to 10 years to get the airplane to where it should have been to begin with. And I think it'll eventually be a good airframe, but I think that, I have a buddy who's on the test team for it, and he's talked to me about some stuff, and he's like, yeah, it's, I think it's going to be another F-16. I think they're going to go, we've spent too much on it to admit we're wrong.
Isn't it 110 million a copy?
I think it's actually more than that now. I think it's like 200 and something a copy now.
Jeez.
Yes, I think it's going to be a cost. I mean, we can't find another airframe to come close to doing what it can do.
Well, and it's, the problem is, man, like at some point you get just too gadgety. You know what I mean?
Yep.
Like that helmet, the $400,000 helmet. Yeah, that's great. Okay, so the guy can see through the bottom of the airplane. Okay, so technically he's in like the Wonder Woman airplane, right? So he can't see his own body or anything when he looks down, because the HUD or the glass just shows him the image out of the bottom of the airplane through the camera system. Well, I mean, that's all well and good, but I could see that causing some disorientation issues. And what happens if that helmet doesn't work properly? Is he able to just flip the visor up and fly using the HUD, or how does that work? Like, I don't know. Like, I had no involvement in the F-35 program.
Eventually,
But
it's got to reach a saturation point where your brain just is exhausted.
and that's it. And that was the issue that we had with with the Eagle. Once we started using fiddle and saddle and timber and all of those things, like, you can get information overload. Like, if it doesn't make me more lethal, I don't need it. And
That's
and
kind of what I was talking about with these simplistic airplanes when you fly the older generation, where you just have the air-to-ground radar and so on. It reaches a point where you're actually more effective with a reduction of.
sure, you don't
go with an air-to-air radar nowadays, but are you going to hook up, Mike?
Is your refueling door open?
Trying to. Yeah, it's open.
Oh yeah, I see it. Sorry.
I'm way too fast though.
Yeah, it said no A-10 pilot ever.
Right. You can't hit the drogue on this one. I'd love to see it. I'd like to see the drogue work. I think
you
I
can
see Rob hook up with. Mike, was Rob the one I saw do the PIO and?
No, that was someone else. That was another.
The kids loved it. So
yeah, he got stuck. That was Chevy, Rob. He got stuck on the boom, and he started PIOing on the boom.
We had a dude in our squadron whose call sign was Unicorn, because he did that. He actually broke a 12-foot section of the boom off, and we flew back and landed in Saudi Arabia with it on the airplane.
Jeez.
No shit. Oh, you
yeah,
have to save that. He has to take that. That's like a squadron monument there.
Oh yeah, it was laying out in front of our unit. Like, we had some cool stuff in Saudi. We had a thing that said the 301 critical days of summer, like, and we had a thing that said 9,205 days since our last DUI. Like, yeah, Saudi is just a weird place, and northern Iraq is so different than southern Iraq. Northern Iraq, that you just kind of patrol around and hope that they'll start shit with you. Oh, well, I'm 15, 20 seconds behind, so don't listen to me.
yeah, you're messing.
You're compressing the shit out of that green line.
Yep.
You're about to be unicorned. That's good though, man. You plugged right in.
Yeah, the more we talk about it, Rob, the more we're gonna mess him up.
Yeah, I need some quiet.
I
don't care. I just like hearing you guys talk and just flying around. It's good.
It's funny, man. There's so much commonality with like air crew stuff. It doesn't matter what country, what airframe. It's you forget all the bad shit that happened, that you're like, man, how many times is this airplane gonna break? How many times am I gonna walk back after mission planning for an entire day? Like, you forget about all that stuff, man. You just remember the good stuff. We had my scariest incident where, no shit, like, I thought we were done, was we were in Japan. We were fighting some jazzed FF4s, and I was in the back seat working the radar, and I locked the guy up, and we get inside about 10 miles, and everything looks good. It looks like we're going to pass, and we had a highway style roll, so we're like cross highway style, post 3-9 line you can maneuver, which for an F4 with an Eagle is awful, right? That guy never wants to do that, but we could have killed him way out, and it wouldn't have mattered anyway. But so as we're coming to the merge, I get a break X on the radar, and it didn't process real. I was like, so I look up, and all I saw was like the whole bottom of the F4 go right over the top of us, and I thought it took the tail off. Like, we were hauling ass toward each other, and we merged probably 800-900 knots of closure, easy. And there's like our two airflows came together, and it felt like I was in a trash can and somebody hit it with a baseball bat. And the pilot yells, "Knock it off!" And he goes, "What do we got?" And I looked back. I go, "We have both tails are there. We're flying." And then so we end up separating out, and he's like, "What the fuck?" Like, I mean, we're both saying that, So he's yelling, "Knock it off!" The guy's not answering. We turn, and we're following. We end up like we're done. So he goes, fuck this, we're going back. So we went back to Okinawa and we land. Well, the guy had lost an engine. Like as we were coming to the merge, he lost the engine. He had already called to knock it off, but it was on the same bus that the common frequency was on. So he was calling it, nobody was hearing it because that side was dead. And so I had a camera with me at the time. And you actually see me on the video. I duck and the guy goes by and it's so close. And we landed and the QA guys are like, hey man, we're gonna need that tape. And they took my tape. I never saw it again. But I was like,
well, back then it was like beta tape, right? Did you have like the super fat tape?
no, I had like a Super 8, like a Sharp camcorder with me. Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Yeah. It was nothing cute. It was no GoPro. Like guys are getting some good footage now from the GoPro stuff.
Incredible. We'd have to come up with some bullshit when we were
mounts. You're building mounts and you're like, you can't put that on the seat. And I'm like, dude, if I'm ejecting, the least thing I'm worried about is you guys finding a camera.
Right.
Like.
So Mike, are you just practicing in and out or?
You just can't stay on.
No, I just suck right now. I'm just not proficient, so that's all. It's really hard to.
So
well, you're doing a great job.
You are absolutely. The 135 is going as slow as he can go. You're going as fast as you can go, and it's working out nice.
Yeah. Yeah, it's a good time. I like refueling. If that's actually the reason why I bought a new stick. Like I could still fly with the 3D, that Logitech 3D Pro, that piece of crap, if I didn't have to do air-to-air refueling.
Well, it's one of the more. It really adds so much to the mission.
Yeah.
So much flexibility, and then it makes it real.
I felt awful for you guys in Afghanistan, man. Like the Hornet guys, like they'd have to go hit the tankers so many fucking times, and I'm like, well,
we're so much dirtier too, though. Like a fleet configuration for us. I was laughing earlier because we were talking about carrying bombs and stuff. I never flew a clean airplane, not a single time.
Really?
Never have a clean airplane. So you never really reach the performance level of the airplane, and then of course she's just a pig as far as eating fuel, and then so
abort rejoin.
So I was going to ask you about your stick. So this sounds bad, but so this new stick feels different.
Yeah, it has the 3D Hall sensors in it, and there's one that a lot of guys get. Like if you're really serious about flight sim, there's a $500 stick that you get. It's called the Warthog. Who makes it, Rob? I'm trying to remember.
It's Thrustmaster.
Thrustmaster, and so there's a low end version called the T16000, and that's what I have, and it still has the same sensors that the Warthog has, but this one only costs $30. So.
So the thing is with Hall effect sensors, Paul, the stick is actually like you're not. How can I describe it? Think of it like a fly-by-wire system. There's no physical potentiometers moving or current being applied to them. The entire system uses the Hall effect to create motion. So as an example, I have some Hall effect sensors in my rudder pedals. Normal rudder pedals, even good ones, will have like 128 positions left and right of center. So you have 0, minus 128,
Warning,
positive
autopilot.
128. These are now like 0, 6,048 to 6,048. So there's a ton of graduation, and there's no what they call stiction. So there's not, when you have a stick for a while, you'll get like a sticky point in it, and it's kind of, you'll spike the potentiometer, and it makes flying smooth very difficult. With Hall effect sensors, you don't have that. Like it just doesn't happen. But it's obviously much more expensive. The fact that they've made a cheaper stick without potentiometers and using Hall effect sensors is pretty amazing. What is wrong with you, Mike? That guy just helped you.
What?
Did you shoot him?
Yeah. Yeah, Randy, the guy I'm flying with right now, will be mad. He'll be a little mad.
Pull up,
You must-
pull up.
Yeah, he was flying KC-135s during the invasion
Altitude.
into Iraq in 2003. So he was telling me all about that story, and pretty crazy.
So Paul, I'll tell you a funny, like I was telling Mike not long ago, I was like, on AWACS, the hardest mission for us, like in Afghanistan, specifically was the guy controlling the tankers, because you'd have to. It wasn't a matter of getting them in place, like that was pretty easy. It was keeping track of their offloads, so that if something came up, you could go, okay, we'll give you gas from this guy, and then you're going to go to this guy. But there were times where you would do multiple consolidations. So you'd have one KC-10 give another KC-10 fuel, and then have them move position because of weather or whatever. And it's funny because he was talking to the that guy that you were just talking about, right?
Yeah.
Mike?
Uh-huh.
And yeah, and he was like, yeah, that must be a nightmare. It is. It's because if you screw it up, some dude will, get somewhere where he's not supposed to be, or get skosh on gas and have all kinds of issues.
Yeah, Randy was telling me the story of them refueling a F-16 CJ on that night, or one of the nights of the invasion, and they requested that they flew the tanker way up north, kind of where they weren't supposed to be, just to help this guy out, and they did it. And I was like, this sounds really familiar. Like, have you ever read Dan Hampton's book, the Viper pilot book? And he's like, no. He's like, I think I've heard of his name, but so we were looking. I looked on my book. I started reading the chapter, and we started looking for to see if it was him or not. But he's like, no, I never used that call sign. But then Rob made a good point, was that he might have changed the call signs and for the book. So he also thinks that I think the night was March 24th in Dan Hampton's book, and he was flying a couple nights before that. So just cool, just kind of cool to make the correlation there. So.
That's funny. Sometimes people change stories. I ran into once this guy. I was flying corporate, and this guy was a corporate pilot for Coors. His last name was Pardo. And so anyway, I had seen this picture.
Altitude,
Long story
altitude.
short, comes out, we're playing golf one day or something, and he tells me the story. He's like, yeah, this is what I did. I flew F4s.
No way. He's not Pardo Push.
That's Pardo Push.
Oh,
I'm
you're
like,
kidding me.
Pictures for 15.
That's incredible.
Isn't that funny how small the world is? And,
Altitude, altitude.
so, Mike, what this guy did is...
I've heard the
I
name.
don't know the specifics of the mission, but anyway, so they go in, his wingman gets hit, and so they're having
Altitude, altitude.
punch out, and they come up with a scheme to push him out over the ocean before he punches out. And so he has him drop his tail hook, and Pardo, who is his airplane's in good shape, puts it into in the F4. It's like a flat spot, and it's kind of like what you're flying right here. You have that center windscreen. So anyway, he nuzzles the hook right into that spot, and he pushes the other F4, the damaged F4, out over the ocean, and then they punch it safely.
What? Wow. I have to look that one up.
I thought one of those guys drowned.
He might have.
Yeah. But he got them out where they needed to be. Yeah, Bob Pardo. As soon as you said Pardo, I was like, no way.
Rob.
They're Air Force guys, so they can't swim.
Yeah, that's exactly why I went. I had zero interest in drowning.
You had no interest in that nonsense.
And then I went to Okinawa, where like every year I had to do, and that was part of the reason actually that I got to fly with the Hornet guys, because I had already done some training with the Navy prior, so I still have my card that showed that I had gone through the, I did the, what do you call it, the Dilbert Dunker and all that stuff. Yeah. So they were like, oh yeah, you can go. And then like,
hey, didn't you you met Larry Stellman back in the day?
Yeah.
Rob? Well, because I was telling Rob, I was like, yeah, there's this guy here that I keep hearing about who's a Thunderbird, and he's like the #1 Thunderbird guy. And Rob's like, oh, you like figured out the name, or I told you
his name's Larry something, and I go, it's got to be Larry Stellman, and then you went and looked it up. Yeah. I knew who Larry was.
Yeah, Larry is he's funny. He made a lot of people cry. He's fucking great, and nobody gets it because most of the people, they just don't get it.
Pull up.
Anyway, he'd be hard on flight attendants, but not really hard. He just expects them to do their job. And
Pull up. Pull up.
so there's classic stories of him making flight
Altitude,
attendants
altitude.
start fucking coming apart.
Male or female? Yeah,
Pull
the
up. Pull
Yeah,
up.
yeah.
yeah, it's
It's-
yeah, that's crazy, man. Like I think there's just a certain mindset when you're
Pull up. Pull
when you're
up.
flying tactically, and then just I don't know, man.
Well, that's
Like,
what you were. That's what you were telling me, Paul. Was that the attributes that like set you apart from the group in the military aren't the same things that are valued at the airlines. Because a lot of guys like they don't want to fly with that kind of Larry Stellmanish kind of guy.
Yeah, they don't translate.
Yeah.
The needs of one mission are different.
Yeah.
Yeah, and if the guys in your squadron are not fucking with you, then you know they don't like you. Like if they're fucking with you, you're okay.
Altitude,
It's as soon
pull
as they
up,
get
pull up.
quiet, you got to worry you've done something.
Right. There's something funny in everything. You gotta look for it.
There really is.
I got a good refueling story. So I'm on the ship one day, and I forget whatever reason. Either I was on alert, and I
Altitude,
popped off the
altitude.
deck, and that's a whole nother story, I think. But I think my IRs were not working, and so my radar was down to raw radar image, so it would be a hard intercept. But it's something that's totally doable. We practice, and I mean, even the raw intercept is amazingly easy in today's. Well, I would hesitate to call them today's fighters because a lot of this is old shit. But
Altitude. Altitude.
anyway, so I'm on. I'm out on patrol, and we got two of us out there, and we're running opposite circles, just running intercepts, and all of a sudden strike call says, we got a contact, immediate turret, whatever.
Pull up. Pull up.
And so I'm on the far end of the circle, so I'm
Altitude. Altitude.
we're actually heading opposite each other because we're running intercepts.
Pull up. Pull
so,
up.
So you were doing just bump heads?
Yes. And
Okay.
so we just happen to be already disengaging. I'm closest to the target, so I'm first on the target. And so we get out there, and of course I don't have the regular symbology to tell me all
Altitude,
sorts of good
altitude.
information.
Yeah, yeah.
So
You're not
all I got is
lead-nosed.
blips
You're not
and a
lead-nosed, but you're close.
yeah, so I got a primary blip with a lot of ghost blips that show this thing trailing, and so I could still do the intercept. It's just a raw data intercept. And so I'm coming in at a 90 to the target until I visually
Warning,
acquire it. Now I'm
autopilot.
going to work into a trail position. So I'm coming in and 90 degrees off in about, I don't know, 8 to 10 miles. And I'm like, what the fuck am I looking at? So I see this
Pull up,
black
pull up.
object with pointy parts all over the place.
Altitude. Altitude.
And then I can tell it's a KC-10 and what looks
Pull
like
up,
another
pull up.
KC-10. So I get caught up with watching this thing visually to where I'm just going to do a visual intercept on it. But I'm really late on the I'm late on
You
trailing.
went past your turn.
I mean, I'm trying to figure out what the fuck am I looking at, and I know it's a friendly target. So it turns out to be an SR-71 with two dedicated KC-10 tankers, and it was such an embarrassing moment because I fucked up the intercept so bad that I couldn't get a photo op out of it, and but it's amazing. He had
Altitude.
two dedicated tankers. And this would have been somewhere near Okinawa. It's
Yeah. That would have been the Quid guys. Yeah, the Q model 135s, because they had dedicated, like their crews were specially trained. Like that is all those crews did was refuel refuel SRs. There's a guy, he's on my friends list on Facebook, Brett Cunningham. His dad was the 9th SR wing commander when I was in high school, and I would be over there, and I was always trying to pick his dad's brain on stuff,
Wow.
But his dad was like the most serious dude I've ever known. Like he wasn't I don't think I ever saw that guy laugh like ever in 4 years,
Right.
Like I don't even think I saw him smile. Like he was just a super serious guy.
Well, I
But
think
he
their
had
mindset is just different. It's a high end, very
they,
intelligent group of
yeah,
people.
and they fly such a specific profile that they're closer to astronauts than pilots, right?
Yeah.
They're sitting there just making the numbers match all the time. And he said, I mean, he said they did some funny shit. Like there were cases where they would dump
But you
fuel.
gotta
They
say
had,
this with your retainer voice.
yeah, seriously.
It,
So they
it was really funny. It was 12 megabytes,
like,
not
awesome.
30 megabytes.
I was just telling Mike that when we did the MISIP, the multi-stage improvement program in the Eagle in like '97, we went from 64K of RAM to like 512K of RAM, and like that's
That's
such
some
a
serious RAM.
but it's stupid how little processing power that computer needs to do what it does.
That's some scary stuff.
Seriously.
Seriously.
So when was your last flight in the Hornet?
It would have been 89, right before the war.
Oh wow. So yeah, you're a little ways back.
Just a little. I've forgotten more than I remember.
I won't tell you how old I was in '89. I say that with all due respect.
Oh, it's all right.
Did you retire at all, or did you get out?
No. I got out thinking the airlines was a good deal. I got hired by Continental. I remember going over to Stapleton back then. Continental was big, and Stapleton, and they had a aeromedical facility right there at Old Stapleton behind the post office. And I go over there, get my flight physical, and I'm starting class in 2 weeks or something. And I remember getting done with my physical, and there's a newspaper that says Continental's going out of business or bankrupt or whatever. Call up and they cancel my class date. So then I scrambled to get work. So I went work corporate for a while. I had a chance to still go back, fly Hornets down in Australia. Oh, I fucked up big time, man. I had a offer to go fly for Australia down in is it Queensbury or I forget
It's
where it is.
no, it would have been. I flew like 40 hours with those guys out of New South Wales, out of Williamtown,
Yeah.
where their schoolhouse was.
Yeah, I
They
would have been
had
an
they had
instructor and the
more
whole thing.
airplanes, and they were all family models. They were all two-seaters. They had more airplanes than they had pilots, because a bunch of their pilots had gone to Spain and to other places that had the Hornet and were training their guys. And so they had this like just total loss of pilots and stuff. And I was down there for an exercise, pitch black in '99, I think it was, or Crocodile '99. And so when we went in, they were like, "Hey, we're standing up the wedge tail program, which is their 737 AWACS." And so when we landed there, they two guys came on board to welcome us aboard, and they had beer with them and stuff. And I knew both of those guys. One was a Canadian guy, one was an American guy that had both flown with me in my squadron like 5 years prior. And so I was like, "What are you guys doing?" They were both Australian officers now. And yeah, man, those guys have the best of everything. Their Hornet squadrons are unbelievable. And they can't keep enough pilots. So yeah, that would have been a sweet gig if you could have done it.
There's so much to that story, and I should have done it. I signed a contract with this corporate company that was flying a real sweet airplane, and I felt really bad. I didn't want to screw somebody. I mean, I had just finished training with them. This all happened relatively quick, so I passed on it, and but it was probably the most impressive job offer I've ever had, as far as not monetarily, but professionally, just how professional. I mean, they had everything all set up for me. I screwed it up.
And they had asked us, they were like, "Hey, do you guys want to," like, I talked to my wife about it. I no shit was ready to join the Australian Air Force. Like I was at a point where I could get out of the Air Force within 6 months or so.
Wow.
And I was like, "Yeah, man, I'm going to do it." And then they said, "You have to denounce your US citizenship." Well, I already have British citizenship because I was born in London. My mom's English. And
Right.
so I was like, "Well, that's going to cause like this whole Like it just felt weird to me to
See,
denounce
that
my
came
U.S.
up with me
citizenship.
too. I was like, can I get a dual citizenship? And I was concerned about that too. I was like, I'm not gonna.
Yeah,
How do you
I,
give up that? You can't
I
give up
and
that.
that's actually what the deal breaker was for me because the money was right, like everything was right except for me having to denounce my U.S. citizenship, and I was like, I had spent too much time at that point being shot at in too many places to do that, so I was like, yeah, I'm not doing that.
Yeah, no
So,
thanks.
um, but yeah, it's crazy because my wife's from LA, and when she was a kid, Australia had a program where they would give you like 40 acres and the mule if you moved to Australia because their population wasn't big enough. And
Right.
so her parents almost did that in the 70s and decided not to. And Australia was the best trip I did my entire Air Force career, like
Yeah.
hands
Really?
down. And I
Yeah.
spent a year in Italy, like, but Australia was the coolest trip I did because we would control because I was an AWACS guy there. Like I would either control the fight in the evening or in the morning, and whichever one I wasn't controlling, I was flying in the package. So they had an evening and a morning go every day, and whichever one you weren't flying on AWACS, you went and flew, and then you'd come in. They had the best debriefing stuff I've ever seen. Like their Met stuff was so good, and they were just so happy that we were there doing the mission that like they were the best hosts I've ever seen anywhere. Like it was like it was an amazing experience with them. They had this huge book, man. It wasn't their doofer book, but it was like a history of their squadron, and it looked like some shit out of Harry Potter. And like you open it, and there was shit in there from like 1910, and guys would like write a log of what they shot down on their mission or whatever during World War One, and they had these. They have their own photography group that prints that are like 12 feet by 10 feet. And so they would fly these formations all the time with us and take these ridiculously beautiful pictures of their jets, and they had them like all over the squadron. There's like murals on the walls, but they were actual photographic paper. Like I don't know, it was just a cool setup, man. Like I liked the way they did business. They played hard and they worked hard.
That was cool, Bird. That was F-86.
Yeah, yeah. This is a good model. Really, really good one. Really cool.
That would be a great. That might be the ultimate model to fly because you strictly, especially if you could do like
Look at the textures on this wing here. It's coming up. It's insane. I can't even.
Could you do this with the Oculus?
Yeah. Yeah, any airplane is flyable in the Rift. And what's funny is like these missions that he's doing, like where that C-17 was in there earlier and it was just flying around. What I'll do is sometimes I just load a mission and I don't even take off. I just hit the F2 key and cycle through these external views. And in the Rift, as I'm looking, the airplane is 1-to-1 scale. So that's what you gain from the Rift that's different is scale. So like you'll be up under a 135 and kind of position it, and as you're flying along, it's the airplane is like actual size, and it gives you like this totally different perspective on stuff.
Would you more realistic? Like,
Yeah,
is that what you're saying?
absolutely. It just like it's hard to explain, man. It really is hard to explain, but you need a serious rig to run this on a Rift, like because you need. What happens is if you start dropping frames, like normally it's not a big deal, your frame rate will chug. In the Rift, that'll make you sick because what happens is you're turning your head to look at something, and then your brain literally cannot tell the difference between reality and what you're looking at. So what happens is if I want to look 90 right, I turn my head 90 right. But what happens is if I'm in the middle of that turn and the computer glitches for a second, now my brain goes, hey, I'm looking over my right shoulder, but my view is at like my 1 or 2 o'clock position, and it will make you feel queasy, like, and it goes away pretty quickly, but they've
But
done
it's
some
enough to mess
patches
you up.
to it. Yeah, they've done some patches to it now, which is called asynchronous warp, and that asynchronous warp, you can have half the frame rate and that will not happen. So what I would suggest that you do is just download DCS and run it on your rig and see what kind of frame rates you get, because the software
I
itself
don't
is
even have
free.
a rig yet. I gotta get a rig.
Oh wow.
Well, you're
It
running
was-
that other sim that you got, right?
That's on a desktop though. That's
Yeah, that's what he's
oh,
talking
yeah.
about.
No,
yeah,
I wasn't.
But I can't shit at home.
No, I wasn't. I meant for him to be on the road.
Oh, gotcha. Okay.
Yeah,
Like
it's
Mike's
gotta be on the
rig,
road,
Mike's
otherwise
rig
I
could
get
run
shit.
a Mike's
It
rig
won't.
could run a Rift fine.
It actually says it won't.
Why? What's the
Because it's
shortfall?
a 970M. It's not an actual 970. It's like downgraded because it's the mobile version of the NVIDIA card. So, anyways, when I looked it up, like my computer tells me it's not VR ready. Is what it says. Like it doesn't meet the minimum requirements for it. And here's it. The interesting thing too is if you have an M version of whatever graphics card, like when I bought Ghost Recon, they say that they don't support laptop cards. Like that game is not technically, that doesn't technically support it. Even though like guys are actually running it and they run fine, they don't
So,
officially
wait.
support it. So
you were mad at them because you bought something for your
it
laptop
didn't
that's
say it.
not.
Well, I've looked at
No,
it.
no,
It did.
and I figured that was the
Yeah.
case. And you wouldn't have bought it.
Sure. Yeah. It didn't say it on their website and all that, and that's fine. I mean, I got it refunded. It wasn't a
Bastards.
big deal.
But Paul, what I'll do is in Discord here, I'll post a picture of my setup that I have, because
nice.
it's a little ridiculous. Like I ordered these rudder pedals. They were like $400, and this dude in Romania makes them, or Croatia, and he makes them by hand. And it took like we
What's his
ordered
name?
them. Yeah, Ceausescu. So we ordered them like before Christmas, and I didn't get them until like May of the following year. And so there was like a 6 to 8 month wait for them. And for stuff like the helicopters in DCS, it makes a huge difference,
Cool.
Dude, I'm not opposed to, like, I don't know if you've built a rig anytime recently. Like I build rigs pretty regularly. I'll build 1 or 2 a year typically. But yeah, I mean, we could build you a rig. I'll use one of my fams to come out to Denver and just build you a rig and then fly back. So
Well, I can come down there too. We get Palm. Well, we don't overnight in Palm Beach. Where do we?
It'd be Orlando
We don't-
probably, or Fort Lauderdale. Do we overnight in Fort Lauderdale?
both of those are an hour and a half from me. Lauderdale and Palm Beach are both.
Fort Myers. We do Fort Myers a lot.
Where do you live? I forget.
I live out by Cocoa Beach, so Melbourne.
Oh, that's right.
I'm just an
The
hour
old
north of
people
Rob.
area.
Yeah.
It's an hour north if you completely disregard public safety or rules.
Took you 55 minutes.
Yeah, he actually showed up at my place and the paint was going off the front of his car. I was like, that's pretty impressive.
That's just
You know
'cause
what?
it's
You know
'cause
what
it's old.
plane I wish they would make for this, man? I would love it, because the most fun like ever had in a jet was I got an F-111 ride out of England. I would love for them to make a 111.
Be cool.
Man, dude, you are cruising.
Doing well too.
Yeah.
Won't last long. I'll die soon.
So Paul, I was at Red Flag one time, and we would bum rides with everybody we could. So the German ECR Tornado guys were there, and I said, I'd like to get a ride. So it took until like the last day of the exercise for us to get the ride. And so we got all the paperwork done or whatever. I went flew with them, and honestly, man, I was like, it was one of the few times where I was like, no kidding, I was scared to be as low and fast as we were. Like I was like,
Wow.
dude, we are gonna hit the ground. Like there's like, and we're crossing ridges like at like 100 feet, So at one point, like we get in the debrief, and I was like, hey, I go, how low were we when we crossed that ridge there at Caliente at the shelf? And the guy goes, he goes, like 30. And I go, meters? And he goes, feet? Like he was totally disgusted that I said that we were at 100 feet. Like it hurt his feelings that
Right.
that I thought we were 3 times the height we were. But and that's the thing too. I was telling Mike, it's all well and good that you can go supersonic out in Vegas low level, but man, like you almost wish you had a mouthpiece in. You're afraid you're gonna bite your tongue in half. Like
Right.
yeah.
Yeah, there's fast and then there's super fast.
Yeah, there's like so much chatter in the airplane, and you're just like, oh man, and it's like it's cool, but at the same time it's exhausting. Yeah, I went
flew,
out. Go
super
ahead.
fast over the ocean once. So we were like a four plane, and we're kind of just loose tactical formation, and I'm cruising around. I'm trail, just running behind the other three, and so now I'm kind of by myself back there. So we're hauling ass. We're just, I don't know if we were supersonic or barely something like that, but so I'm getting there, and of course the radar altimeter is spot on, and I'm just hovering at right around 20 feet, and your peripheral changes dramatically. Difference between 120 feet down to 20 feet is
Yeah,
like
it's not
fucking huge.
it's not a linear 80-foot reduction.
It's amazing. But anyway, your peripheral goes from at 100 feet, you've got some good peripheral. You get down to 20 feet, and you're down to seriously maybe 8 inches, 12 inches on the windscreen that you're looking. Everything else is gone, and all you see is like blue and sky, a lot of sky. I mean, it's just it's
Yeah,
that's hard getting down
you
there.
were
I can't
early
imagine
in the
doing that
Hornet
over.
community too.
Huh?
Like you were an early guy in the Hornet community then, because it only came online.
Yeah, yeah, relatively. I think
Wow.
the Eagle was the first. By then we were flying older block models because we just didn't get replenished like other squadrons with newer block models. So we were flying older.
You were Mark 1 Mod 0.
Yeah, I think so. I'm not kidding.
I have a
And
buddy who's an astronaut, and he was a test pilot in the Air Force, and he went through the F-15 course with me, and he was funny because he used to say never fly the A model of anything, which is a test pilot is a funny thing for a guy to say, but yeah, I was going to ask you, did you ever do any AMRAAM stuff? But that didn't even come online till what, 92, 93,
yeah,
so
never.
you wouldn't have. So you were doing, you just had the Great White Hope. You were just carrying sevens.
That's it. Probably the biggest thrill for us was Harm. That was one of my favorite missions. Of course, I never flew real Harm live. I wasn't in. I don't have any combat time.
Well, did you just black out, Mike?
Yeah.
Oh, he did. He did.
This is the
At
guy I
least you,
shot up.
at least you didn't see it coming. Yeah, look at him. So yeah, so hit F2 on him real quick on that guy, and then hit F3 a couple, or like hit F3 so that airplane, if you're in the Rift, that would look like super super detailed, and it would fill like the appropriate amount of space in your 360-degree continuum.
Look where he's
Oh,
landing.
okay.
Look how long he's landing.
It's a Russian guy, dude. They're still arguing over who's flying right now. Shit yet. Like, so when I was at Charleston, man, those guys would come in the Antonovs, and they would blow tires like all the time.
Really? Why?
And so because the runway's short, they would land on our short runway instead of the long runway. And we're like,
Oh,
"You
yeah.
sure you want runway 3?" And so the guy's like, "Yeah, no problem." And they would either use pull it and what was the other call sign? Volga Nepper were their two call signs that they used. And so those guys would come in, and they would blow tires, and at one point they landed on runway 3, and the guy was on the brake so hard that a flaming tire came out from under the aircraft, right, and just bounced down the runway and stuff. And we're like, "Hey, we're going to roll the equipment." They go, "Okay, we go to parking," and they taxied to the ramp with it like that. And we're like, "No, dude, they don't want you on the ramp with shit burning under your airplane. But the guy's like, no, it's fine. And so he taxied in, and we went over to base ops that night, me and this other guy who works at Palm Beach now. And we talked to him, and the guy was like, "Oh yeah," he's like, "We have tons of spare tires in the back of the airplane." He's like, "We blow tires all the time." Like, it was just not even a
We
big
blow
deal to them.
tires.
Yeah, you look at this; it's like Tire Central, like he's opening the clamshell, But we were like, "Wow, dude, that's insane."
That's funny.
See, I think this model would be a cool model to engage with other airplanes
Yep.
with.
Yeah, we've done some dogfights in it, and
Fly the
it's
big-
it's
fly
probably one of the
Mirage,
funnest
dude.
ones.
I think
Mirage?
I think Yeah, the Mirage is
So I
super.
just loaded up the L39 and I'll.
Yeah.
Yeah, I saw it. I was
Okay.
15 seconds behind.
Okay.
Those L39s were cool at Sun and Fun this year.
Yeah, they're awesome.
Those
Dude,
are cheap.
I'm so you can buy one for like 200 grand, man. Like a nice one.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Dude,
still
let's
have
do it.
your
Spray
you still have your
paint make 'em
banana
look really
banana?
cool.
You still have your Bonanza, Paul?
I do. Yeah.
Still trying to get rid of it, or?
Yeah, but I love that airplane. I mean,
Yeah.
I'll give you $50 cash money.
Nice.
I just don't want to own an airplane out. I fly through the Piper is based like 10 miles north of us. So like I'm a member of their flying club, and it used to be that I could get the airplane whenever I needed it, but they just changed their rate for Piper employees to $25 an hour wet. And so now guys, just the airplane's in use all the time. So I may jump out of the club just because of that.
That's
But I got
crazy.
a 6-year-old that I need to take up, man. He's got the flying bug bad since we went to Sun and Fun.
Check this out.
You know what? Just build him a sim and start working a little bit of that. I have built a great desktop sim setup. I'm just getting
There's someone on the
going.
runway.
Yeah, it's a B1.
A bone.
Which plane are we in now?
We're in the L39.
Oh, okay.
Look at that guy's in full blower trying to get to rotate. You can do it.
Yeah, the Randy, the guy that I was flying with, that I'm flying with right now, he said that those guys, they would have to take off and then they have to refuel right away, pretty much, like when they were heavy.
Who, the bone guys?
Yeah.
Well, they could probably come off not full.
Well, that's how we were in AWACS. We got rid of our parachutes because they weighed too much. Like that's the point where we were at. They're like, hey, so they got rid of the chutes, and then because we had a bailout chute, like you open it and you slide out, like it's like a freaking. Well, they realized because they did testing in the 70s, and they realized that when they were dropping stuff out, it was hitting all the antennas. There's 19 antennas on the bottom of the airplane, and they were dropping goats out, and it was hitting the antennas, and like they were just getting shredded. And they're like, all right, so for you to be able to get out of the airplane safely, it had to be like at this perfect airspeed and this perfect pitch, right, and level.
Like the space shuttle, they got to guide you out.
Yeah, so they basically said, if you can do that, you can bring the airplane back and land it. So we're going to go ahead and remove the chutes. So they removed our chutes, and to save the weight. Like that's where we were, man. We were like, our weight changed. Like they put new equipment on the airplane. They're like, okay, we got to get rid of something else. Like we flew like that all the time. And I think the E2 is like that until they went to the new props. Like they had that issue. But I have a funny story in Afghanistan. We went to the tanker one night, and Screw Top was the E2 that was working. And so I did the handoff to her and said, okay, here's what we're going to do. And she's like, okay, well, we're coming off the tanker, so we can't power our radar up within like a mile of a KC-10. And so we waited, and we're like, all right. I'm like, hey, we're lead-nosed. We're coming off the tanker, and we're talking secure. And so I go, hey, go say your angels. She's like, oh, well, we're base +6 or whatever. And I'm like, no. I'm like, we're green. I need you to just say it in plain English, because I was realizing while we were on tank and I was listening to the radios that I'm like, she's using a different base number than we were using.
Mm-hmm.
And so I'm like, listen, I think we're on different base numbers. Stop using base. We're in the clear. I want you to say your altitude in thousands of feet. And so she goes, we're base +7. And I'm like, no, I need you to just say it. I go, look, we're at 23. What altitude are you at? She goes, we're at 22. I'm like, okay. She goes, no, we're at 23. And everybody's flying blacked out. So I yelled to the flight deck. I'm like, hey, Christmas tree. So he turns our lights on, and they turn their lights on, and we passed right by each other. We were within like a mile of each other laterally, head on. And
Are we public, Mike?
Yes, we are.
Okay, so I can't say politically incorrect things.
No, I mean you can say whatever you want. Just
No,
and no one knows who you are,
There's
so it's not a
probably
big deal.
Yes. Okay, keep going, Rob.
yeah, it was so ridiculous, because I'm like, finally I'm like yelling at her. I'm like, listen, I need you to say this in plain fucking English. Stop talking around it. We're green. There's no reason for you to be using base numbers green. you know. So, and that's exactly what it was. They had taken off with, you know, the Zulu day had rolled over. We had gone to a new base number at midnight Zulu, and they had not made the swap, or she had not made the swap. And so my senior director's behind me, and he's yelling, "Hey man, tell her this," you know. So yeah, we had.
Can you imagine if you didn't catch that? That was just intuition, kind of intuition.
It kind of was. I felt like listening to it. I'm like, doesn't feel like she's using the same base number we are, just by the way she was talking. It was off by like 2,000 feet, and I could tell, you know. And there's a lot of stuff that happens like that. I remember the P3 guys, the EP3 guys, were flying with us over there, and the F-18 guys had nods on, and they went right over the top of the P3, like right over the top of them on purpose. And the P3 guy was like, "Hey, somebody just went right over us." And one of the Hornet guys goes, "It's a VFR, asshole. Pull your skirt down and quit crying."
Right.
And like, I just thought that was the funniest response. Like, it's VFR,
Right.
you know. But
Yeah, they're just in this dark world.
yeah. The EP3 guys were doing good work over there, man. It was just such a weird place, because I got into country like September 15th of 2001. So I mean, I went very quickly. Like, I did a couple of missions in the States over the high task stuff, the World Trade Center and the Pentagon, and then I think I got in country like on the 17th, maybe. It wasn't long, and then we were still trying to figure out what was going on. It wasn't really until October that things kicked off over there, and we started creating orphans and widows. But it was a while down the road.
Yeah, this is another. This is the one I was flying for in the sim with the.
This is so easy to fly. Like,
Yeah.
I told Mike, the whole concept of a French warplane makes me laugh. But I'm like, oh, look, a French warplane. Where's your surrender button? So they have pretty good sticks, though, man. Their guys. Have you seen the footage of their guys flying low level, like in Chad? They're down at like 20 feet, hauling ass through the canyons. Dude, that is the sun hitting your ADI. I thought you had it lit, and I was like, that's a weird light. It was the sun hitting
That's
it.
awesome.
It was just lighting the left side of it, yeah.
What'd you have on there? You got a. I can't tell. Sparrow.
Magics.
Magic
Yeah.
530D.
That's TV. Is that TV guided or what is that?
No, it's
Maverick.
radar, and in this, it's awful. Did they fix that, Brennan?
The 530D? Yeah, it's better than most of the missiles in DCS.
Oh, well, then they've patched it, because it was shitty before.
Yeah.
Yeah, look at your ADI as you roll, Mike. Like, it's just lit from the...
Yeah, there's like the sun flare coming off right now.
Yeah.
You'll see it in just a few seconds. It's awesome. Ah, it's amazing.
You can't get it to take ridiculous
What the hell did you
vectors.
say?
Yeah, you can't get the other, like, you can't get the 530D to take a ridiculous vector to drive itself into the ground. Like you can the other missiles.
Is that an off-screen symbol you got on your knee?
Ah.
That's Quicksilver. B-51.
Is that a Son of Fun picture?
Yeah. That was the
I'm
one sitting
looking
next to
on
the
a
Corsair.
telephone, so I can't see.
Oh,
anything.
that's alright.
It's like this little bitty dot.
Yeah.
See what else we got. There's a MiG-21. I don't know how to fly it, but
The MiG-21 is beautiful.
yeah,
but
it's a really good model. But
it's made by the same guys that made the Viggen, so it's really well. They had, like, most of your really good planes are made by that company.
I'm loading that one up now, real quick. I gotta take a nap before I go to work here in a little bit, so I'll probably be the last one I fly. But
Oh, thanks for making me wake up early then. Jeez.
not early enough.
Would you wake up at the crack of 11?
Crack of 10, actually. Thank you very much.
Hippie.
Full hour early. Dude, I can't help that I work the fucking vampire shift.
Well, you can. You can pick another line of work.
It's true. I should
Yeah,
have quit.
if you're ever
You
going
could be
into
one of those
Nashville,
guys
Paul,
that- yeah, you could spin one of those signs that, like, where they're selling, buy jewelry or they're showing houses or whatever. You could work straight days. They never have those guys out there at night.
if you're ever going to Nashville, Paul, Brendan has a full access SIDA, so he can come up to the plane.
Oh, awesome.
Yep. He'll bring you Wendy's. Just kidding.
I don't even know where the Wendy's is.
It'll cost you a hand job then.
So much for politically correct.
There's nothing politically incorrect about that.
Just everyday talk for him.
Yeah. Whose Twitch account? They're like, it wasn't Uber. It was Ian. He's like, hey, I'm starting to stream, guys. So don't say anything appropriate. I'm like, fuck. And he goes, well, there goes my family rating for my channel. Like,
So
are you locked up? Mike?
Brendan, what is it? Brendan or Brandon?
Brendan.
That cleared up nothing. Brendan with an E,
2 E's.
2 E's.
Like there's 2 O's and goose.
All right.
Oh,
so what are you
really?
doing this late night?
I work at the fuel farm in Nashville. 24/7 staffing.
So yeah, this MiG-21's super nice. I just don't know how to fly. I haven't spent time in it yet. So like that's what we'll do. Like whenever DCS will run sales, like I'll buy a few of the modules that I've been wanting to get.
A few or all of them.
Well, I don't have all of them, but almost.
What are you missing? The 15?
Spitfire. No, the 15. Missing the Spitfire, Mi-8. There's a few. Gazelle.
So 2. 3.
And MiG-15. Trying to think what else, but
Probably combined arms.
I have combined arms. I just don't have flaming. Well, I do have flaming cliffs 3, but I don't seem to have like the MiG-29. I guess I do have the Su-27, right? If I have flaming cliffs.
Yeah, if you had flaming cliffs, you'd have the Su-27, 810A, Su-25, and the other.
You know what? I don't have that. I bought the F-15.
Yeah.
How we make a base?
Yeah. Yeah. Here we go. Yeah, this model is beautiful. Oh.
Oh yeah.
They had like patched it and increased the roll rate, and everybody in the forums was just like bitching. They're like, "Oh my god, the roll rate's so much better. What is this?"
Huh.
It looks like it's a lot
That's
faster.
probably more realistic, I would guess.
I think that's what they were saying. It actually had a higher roll rate. Which I don't know how you screw that up when somebody on your team actually flies MiG-21s in some old Eastern Bloc country.
You fly F8 any?
What's that?
Any F8 stuff? F8s?
What's that? I never even heard of that one.
Panther. No,
No.
aircraft.
It's
That's
going to be
fine.
an equivalent to.
Like the Sabre. They've got
should be-
they've got a MiG-15 that's kind of to fly against the Sabre. Trying to think what else. Wow, that roll rate is insane. Oh my gosh.
You depart.
No, I blacked out because the roll rate's
Oh.
insane. Sorry.
Brendan's a better pilot on here than Mike or me.
All of us
or Chris.
combined.
Or anyone. Yeah, he has hands and feet of gold.
That doesn't count for shit. It's all pixels.
Yeah, what team were you flying for this weekend?
It was Quicksilver.
It was just like a solo thing. Did you see it?
No.
It was cool. So they have put on your retainer voice,
Yeah.
Paul.
no.
But
They have virtual air shows with like multiple teams.
Yeah.
they have virtual air shows and stuff, and it's cool. Like these teams are really good, and it's amazing.
Oh, dude, it's ridiculous, man. Like it's so much. Like I could see if everybody in your team had a Rift, it would be easier, for sure. But for guys to be doing it either using track IR or not using anything, like it's insane.
Well, and like they have these teams, like these air show team, like these display teams, are sponsored by companies and stuff like that. They're all virtual pilots
Oh,
and stuff.
Thunderbirds are sponsored
Really?
by
Oh yeah,
Thrustmaster.
yeah. I've seen other sponsorships out there that I was kind of surprised about too. I was like, whoa, that's crazy.
Hey, Paul, did you do any constant peg stuff when you were in?
Don't know anything about that. What is that?
That's the right answer. All right.
No, I did not, and I'm not aware of it at all. So.
Okay.
Here, I can shut down the stream if you want.
You know, the other thing too on the Midway is for us to get stateside, if it had anything to do with stateside, is a big deal. So, because it pulls away a pilot from the squadron, and here's financially, back then it was a big deal.
Yeah. Well, are you still streaming, Mike, or no?
Yeah, I'm gonna actually shut it down because I gotta get going here in a sec. Stand by.
He's getting sleepy. Sleepy Mike.